As you can see, my circumstances are rather different now. I'm in the process of moving into my retirement home. In fact, we moved early January over Christmas. But as you can see, I'm only just beginning to get books on my shelves. And I always think that if you're going to be talking on Zoom, you really ought to have books visible behind you. Looks good. Now, what happened in the meantime was that I was intending to do another talk uh, about in October, but I began to suffer agonizing back pains and leg pains. They were sort of real electric shock sort of pains, and I tried everything. I went to my rheumatologist and had injections. A little bit of relief for one day, then it was back again. I went to acupuncture, and again about a day of easing a bit, but then back it came. I went to physiotherapists and had sort of heat treatment and all sorts of things. Again, slight easing, but then it came back again. And then after 3 weeks, I think it was, I suddenly woke up one Sunday and I didn't feel, I hardly felt any pain. And I thought, this is terrific. So I got up and found I couldn't walk. My legs were so wobbly, I was sort of having to hang on to things. And I thought, oh Lord, has the nerve that's been transmitting the pain, has it now broken? So I went for an MRI scan. And when I went to speak to the surgeon to comment on what he'd found, he said, don't go home. You've got to go straight to hospital bed and you've got to wait there until I can operate on you as soon as possible. Because if I don't do as quickly, you could be paraplegic for the rest of your life. So I found myself lying on my back in a hospital bed, and I wasn't supposed to move without someone calling an expert, a nurse or something, to help me to roll. I couldn't get up, I couldn't do anything. And for me, that was hell. I, someone who, loves the outdoors and sunshine, I couldn't even see out of a window where I was in this hospital bed. And someone who needs to be a bit active, which I do from time to time, there was I stuck on my back and, hospital food and everything. It was hell. And I had an awful lot of time awake in the night thinking things over, a lot of time to think. One of the things that occurred to me was that what right have I got to call this hell? Right now, there are people in the Ukraine having their houses demolished by bombs, losing family, losing friends, getting maimed, and in appalling pain, and knowing that they've lost everything. And here am I in a hospital with expert trained people looking after me. I'm being fed, I've kept warm, and a surgeon has just spent 5 hours repairing me. I've got no right to say I'm in hell. And I felt really bad about it. But then, with plenty of time to think, I remembered back when I was teaching about 50 years ago. And I had one of the boys came to me, and he was a visionary, and he would be having visions of heaven and hell. And he said, I think I've experienced hell. And yet, that was the time of the Vietnam War. When I think of what people are going through in Vietnam, I sort of feel, what right have I got to say that I'm in hell? He was an aristocrat and he was a pupil at Eton College, and from a wealthy family, presumably. And so he said, how can I say that I'm in hell compared with those people? And maybe think of a sort of, an extreme example. Imagine some sort of social media megastar who gets trolled. It all goes viral. And she cries out she's suffering hell. um, you know, all these sort of hate mail and things like that, and mail saying fake pictures showing that she's getting fat and all sorts of stuff like that. She says, I'm suffering hell. But some of the people say, how can a spoiled brat like you, living a life of luxury in California, call it hell when there are people in the Ukraine crawling out of shell holes with their limbs broken and dead friends all around them? You've got no right to say that. Well, this is the analogy that occurred to me then. If a teaspoonful of water is full, it is full. If a bucket is full, it's full. The bucket has no right to say to the teaspoon, you can't be full because you've only got 5 milliliters of water in you. What I'm saying is that every person has their own hell or capacity for pain, which can vary from time to time. But basically, at any moment, you have a certain capacity for pain, and that is your hell. And it's meaningless to make sort of quantitative judgments of saying, oh, that person's hell is worse than your hell, because hell is hell. So here's a thought experiment. Imagine two people, and to make a level platform, let's say they're both beautiful blonde women. One is this sort of media megastar who's suffering a bit of a bad run, and it says she's in hell. And the other is a woman who joined the Ukrainian army, and she has just been bombed. She sees her friends killed, and she's lost a hand, and one leg is broken, and she's crawling out of a shell hole, wondering what's going to happen next. Now, I'm trying to say that although it looks ridiculous to say it, they are both in their hell. And here's a thought experiment to sort of justify that or back it up a bit. If I had two suicide pills, I gave each of them one of those pills, and I said, in 5 minutes, your troubles could be gone. It won't hurt, just swallow it, and you'll just fall asleep, and that'll be the end of all your problems. Now, my question is this: which of those two people would swallow the pill? And I think there's a high probability that it would be the rich media megastar that would swallow it. Why? Her problem seems so small. But I'm suggesting that the soldier crawling out of the pit in absolute agonizing pain, with dead friends around, still has a fighting spirit, is hugely angry at what has happened, and the will to live is there, and the sense of meaning that you're going to fight on for her country and get revenge on this appalling act. It's the sort of a sense of meaning which, in that book, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, is supposed to be so important to us. Whereas that person whose whole life was being online and being, followed by 1 million viewers, she's lost her meaning. It's all exploded around her. I think she'd be the one who would take the suicide pill first. So what I'm saying basically is everyone has their own suffering. Everyone has their own feeling whether they're in hell or not. And it's up to them. It's their responsibility. They need to own it. It's not up to other people saying, you can't call that hell when other people are going through much worse.